Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Tea Time at 480 Codorus Street. Today, our subject is the unbroken circle. And let me explain to you what I mean about that. And don't bother about taking notes. You can come back and listen later if you like, if you really need to take notes, but I don't think you'll have to. So, in our lifetime, we belong to many circles: our primary circle, our secondary circles, and our tertiary circles. Primary circle you're born into. That is you, your parents, and your siblings. That will always be your primary circle. Even as you grow up to be an adult, like I am, and create another primary circle, which will then become me, my partner, and my children. The primary circle for siblings and parents remain the same. So you belong to two primary circles in your lifetime. The secondary circle is your siblings and their family. They will always be your primary, but their children will be your secondary circle. Your tertiary circle, the third circle, will be all of your relatives, nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles, everybody in your family in hodgepodge that can fit into there and be related to you by blood, not by marriage. That's that third circle. As we go through life, we grow and develop. As the person in your circle, the primary circle, if you are the person that everybody comes to, then you are the person that is controlling that circle. In my family, my primary circle of siblings, I believe that is me. Now, my siblings might tell you something different. It's all good. I believe that is me. In my second primary circle with me, my spouse, and my children, I'm that person that calls the shot. Now, I don't know everything, and I'm not the expert on everything, but I am Mrs. Always Right in this family. You may be that person in your family. Here's some things I'm going to tell you to understand as you grow and learn. In my second primary family, me, my spouse, and my children, I am only have that control when it comes to them. When my children meet their spouses, if some have married, not married in relationships, have their own children, then that comes my secondary under them. They are in control of that circle. I am not, and I don't want to be. Now, let me tell you why that's very important. As your children grow and have their own relationships, their own children, their own boyfriends, girlfriends, spouses, etc., they become in control of their own primary circles. So, an example of my child or my children, and I've had these experiences. If your child comes to you because they are having a problem with their significant other, make sure you just give them your ear. Listen, don't get involved, and don't take sides, because you will be the bad guy. I learned that the hard way. I'm an expert on that now. You need to understand that to stay in tune with your primary factors, your children. Stay in your lane. When I wrote my first book, 480 Codorus Street, I had it in my mind that some of my siblings in my primary circle would not or may not have been happy with what I wrote. But I always document in my books that it is my story only. And because there were 7 of us, they might tell you a whole different scenario. And that's okay, because that's how they saw it. So I always speak to how I saw it. Moving on to the secondary circles that I belong to. That's grandchildren under me. You have to be very careful when your grandchildren come to you because they're angry at their parent, which is your child, and tell you this and tell you that. You have to give them your ear. You can't take sides. You may let them think you're taking their side, but you may not be. You have to be smart enough to play the middle. Very important, because you don't want them to go back to your child. Then your child comes back to you and says, Mom or Dad, you should have minded your business. That's so important for you to learn if you want to keep peace in the circles. I know you've never probably heard that before, but you have to be very careful not to break the circle. The circle is going to be broken many times in your life. As I am in my 70s, my primary circle was broken when my mother left my father. There was a break in the primary circle that my mother had to figure out how to mend and hold together without him. And she did that. That was very hard for her to do. But there will come times when you have to do that. It may be because of a loss of a spouse or a divorce or any such thing like that. Anything can happen. And you have to be strong enough to hold it together and mend your circle. I was very young, just a teenager when my first husband was murdered. I didn't know how to hold that circle together. I was just a child myself, left alone with children. And that was so difficult. So I must say and admit to you that circle, my primary circle, was broken for many years to come. And it would be that until I figured out what to do and until I grew up and mended that fence. I didn't mend that break until I got married many years later to my second husband. Is the circle the same or will it be the same as when you were with someone else? Maybe not, but you build another circle and you make it equally as strong. You do that. You call the shots in your primary circles. You don't have that power in the secondary circles and you don't have that power in the tertiary circles, but you don't want to because you have enough to do. Speaking about the tertiary circles, that third circle that we all belong to, that's supposed to be a circle where we just grow and learn. Grow and learn. Learn your family. Communicate with your family. Understand where you came from. Understand how all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. Understand there's so much to learn if you just open up your mouth and ask. I mean, we live in a world that seems so big, but once you open up your mouth, the world is so much smaller. You'd be surprised at how much you learn by just opening your mouth and asking the question. When I wrote this book, I intended to leave generational history for my children and my grandchildren, but to my surprise, it hit many levels with grands, great-grands, nieces, nephews, aunts. It's amazing how many people have come to me and thanked me for writing that book so they could dig deeper into our Smallwood family and our Jackson family and see where everything all started. I am so glad that I took this endeavor and decided to take this journey for not just me and my children and my grandchildren, but for my entire family who has been reaching out to me to ask questions. Who am I? Where did I come from? Through my research, I learned that in my mother's primary circle as a child, she was like adopted several times. Her mother was mulatto. She probably never got to know that history. But because I researched it, I found it out. And it's so nice and exhilarating to find out where you come from. Doing my father's history and finding out where he came from and learning about his parents, I can look back now through all that history and see my dad had so many problems coming into that marriage with my mother. Of course, my mother didn't know that, but I'm sure his parents knew that, the problems he had. It was horrible that my mother had to go through so much abuse and break away from him, but it was important for her survival to do that. And that made her stronger and even strong to the point where she actually forgave him at some point in her life. I always look back and wish I had did that while he was alive because he apologized to me eventually about his behavior towards me. That was shattering to me, but he did. So maybe one day I'll find it somewhere deep down in to just talk to him beyond the grave and say, I accept your apology, Dad. I don't know when that will be, but maybe one day. It's not important right now. Let's get back to all these circles you belong to. Do you understand what I'm saying about your primary circle, your initial primary circle, you, your parents, your siblings? Your secondary circle, your siblings' families, meaning their children, their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, etc. Your tertiary circle, the one that everybody belongs to. Everybody. And there's going to be people in that circle who say, I'm your cousin, I'm your aunt, I'm your uncle. It may be true, it may not be true, but if you want to do the research and figure it out, it's all good. It's not that important because you're not in control of that circle. So again, I say let the circle be unbroken, because if the circle is unbroken, the family is strong. When a family gets fractures, things are a little shook up, people are going through stress, marriages are rocky, relationships are rocky, that's a fracture. Work it out. Try to work it out. If you need therapy, go to therapy. Don't sit back and say, I got this, when you don't got this. Be able to open your mouth and say, I don't have this. Can you help me out? Can you help me out to get through this? If you're strong enough to ask for help when the circle is broken or fractured, you will get help and you will mend that circle. So again, I say to you, let the circle be unbroken. It's okay if you get fractures or breaks. We can repair them. Sometimes it's very hard to repair breaks. They continue to be fragile in those spots. And I had the opportunity, after writing this book, to talk to many young women, Afro-American women, who are struggling right now in their life, struggling with things that have happened to them in their past, in their primary circle. And they feel like their mothers primarily were to blame for things that happened to them under their watch. I say to you, to any mother out there that knows something happened to their child way long time ago, be strong enough to admit to your child that you knew that you were wrong and you were sorry. That's probably the hardest thing to do. But you have to understand to bend a little bit and apologize to your children. You can't let your children hurt for their entire lives for something you know something about. And I don't have to go into that and make that any clearer, because I think if you're smart and you're listening to me and you understand how the circles work, you know what I'm talking about. So again, moms and dads, if you had hurt your children, you broke that circle and it's still broken because you haven't been strong enough to go back and fix it, damn it, go back and fix it. Make that apology. Explain to your child that you were wrong, that you are sorry. If you really are sorry, explain that to them so they can make their circle stronger, move on with their life, and stop holding grudges. We as a people have been running our entire lives since slavery. We're always running. We're always hiding. We're always keeping secrets. It's not okay to keep a secret and say to a child, oh, don't worry about it. That happens in every family. It'll be okay. It was the way it was done back then. Bullshit. It's not okay. It won't be okay. And I don't care how it was done back then. It ain't done like that now. That's an excuse for somebody not to make that apology. Make that apology. Let your children be strong. Let them belong to positive circles. Let them teach their children the right things to do. Break that cycle. If you don't break it, one would break. There's no such thing as it doesn't matter, because you can walk and you can run and you can do whatever you want to do on the road, but you will never outrun the road. My phone will pick the darndest time to ring, but I'm not going to take no break, no tea break, and answer that phone. It can wait on me. To all my listeners and my readers of 40 Codorus Street, please communicate with me through my YouTube channel, on social media, on my website, which is my name, www.sandralkearse-stockton.com. I will definitely communicate with you. No problem. I love all of you for listening. And remember, I don't know everything, but I'm Mrs. Always Right in my family. Have a great day. And please come back again for tea time at 40 Codorus Street.